Hello and welcome to the Health and Wellness presentation. This one is going to be on the mind and along the lines of personal development, personal growth, those types of things. And it's going to be pretty quick. Just really an introduction. That's the purpose of this presentation. To really get to the root of the issues, it's going to take a lot more than just a short presentation. But I want to give you some food for thought and then introduce you to some tools that could help you to further along these lines and move your life forward. There's a quote that I really have come to love, and it's every thought, therefore, is a cause, and every condition an effect. For this reason, it is absolutely essential that you control your thoughts so as to bring forth only desirable conditions. Now, there was a time in my life where I was at this place where I was very discouraged. I wasn't accomplishing my goals and my dreams. In fact, I remember a specific morning waking up, looking in the mirror and saying, what are you becoming? You're about as far away from your goals and dreams as anybody could possibly be. And that wasn't due to a lack of trying, striving for excellence, trying to read the right books, setting goals and setting a schedule for myself. But there was something that was blindsiding me, kept taking me out, and I couldn't get past that. And it became very frustrating. The frustrating part is when you keep trying and you keep being persistent and you still don't move forward, that becomes very, very frustrating in a person's life. And I think a lot of people, if not everybody, could relate to that on one level or another. Now, what I feel is that I have something to offer, because somebody handed me a book with some specific information. And that information, I hadn't ever been privy to it. I didn't know about it. And since I didn't know about it, I couldn't understand and think from that perspective of what that information was. Does that make sense? So when I got the book, I started reading, I'm like, wow, this is different information. And I really like what it's saying. And I think that this, is going to make the difference. And so I started applying the information that I was reading, and immediately things started to change. And now I could say that I've surpassed what my dream life was back then. Like what would my life look like if I was living everything the way that I wanted to, like according to my dreams? I've passed that up now. And I know specifically why and how and what caused that to happen. So I put together a podcast. It's called Mechanic to Millionaire Podcast, and I'll introduce that to you at the end. But it's a free podcast show where you can go and listen to the shows. I'm right now at this point in time, I'm on like show number 87, and you're going to start at number 1. So I'll come back to that and explain what that is, but there is no way to really have a substantial or dramatic change in the way we see things in one little presentation like this. But I want to give you some food for thought and just share with you some of the important things that I learned that helped me to move my life forward. All right, so I want to use this little graph that I've come up with where personal development versus your life goals. I have business goals here, but it could be anything. It could be relationships. It could be, as a parent, you want to be a better parent. Could be maybe your job, you're a school teacher, whatever your vocation may be, your career, and you want to move forward in that. And just in your impact and the contribution that you make in the world. For me, that's the thing that I want to focus on in my life. I want to, all of those areas, I want to blossom, and I want them to be able to get to a place where I feel fulfilled and satisfied and have this sense of accomplishment for having lived. So what I learned was, let's say I could rate myself on my personal development, that my skills and my abilities on handling challenges and everything that's in my mind that helps me to piece things together and then move forward objectively and handle all the situations and circumstances that come up in my life. Now, the ultimate would be a 10. A 10 would be like you totally arrived. You figured everything out. So let's just use this example, and I'll put myself at a 3. And what I found out, looking back in hindsight now and watching what happened to me as I started to learn different things, is that where I was at in my personal development is where I was at in my life when it came to my physical goals, the things that I was involved with, the circumstances, my lifestyle. All of those things were a direct correlation to where I was at in my personal development. They were synonymous. And what I found out was, it wasn't about working my business goals harder. It was about me developing and understanding things in a way that I didn't understand or see them before. Because what would happen is I'd hit a level 4 or level 5 problem in my pursuit in my goals. my physical achievements, whether it was with my career, maybe it was something physically, getting physically fit, accomplishing things along that way, whatever it may be. It could be it could be playing the piano, or it could be being an artist, or again, it could have to do directly with your place of employment or your business that you own. But the level 4 and 5 problems, every time I came up against them, they beat me. I didn't know how to get past them. And for the most part now, I can say back then, I didn't even know what they were. Yet I wasn't getting to a 10 in my life. A 10 would be you're living your life, your dream life, in every way you can have, do, and be whatever it is you want to do every single day. And the capacity for us to live that kind of life is totally here. But I wasn't reaching it. And that was the frustration in trying to get to that 10, but never getting there. And so what happens is I end up quitting something. And then I would start over on something else. And I didn't quit too early. The intestinal fortitude and the striving and trying to persist and be consistent, it just wasn't paying off for me. For now, I understand why. I didn't have the personal development to where I could understand how to identify what the problems even were. So when I got this book, it really introduced me into a whole new world. It wasn't your traditional personal development. It wasn't about setting goals and writing down affirmations and setting a schedule and working all of that and how to be a better leader. I read all those books. It wasn't that kind of information. It was more like an underground personal development. It was like this information that wasn't mainstream. And as I started learning it and it moved my life forward, I was wondering, why isn't it mainstream? Why don't they talk about it in school? Why didn't my parents tell me about it? So now, because of communication, social media, we have the capacity to get this information out, and it's really growing in the world, and it's really moving people forward in their lives. So what happened for me is when I got the information and I committed to it, it seemed different, but it didn't seem strange or crazy or way out there. It really fit with who I was and the things that I had already believed in and understood. But it just gave them to me and introduced them to me in a way that it had never been introduced before. So what happened as I committed to that information and read the other books that I can find on it and the mentors and people that are alive today that are teaching these things, I moved forward in my personal development. My understanding went from a 4, my ability to internalize, went to a 5, then to a 6, and I started to see things differently. I started to understand things differently. I started to see the correlation between, the way I was thinking and the results that were showing up in my life. And because I got to that level of a personal development, remember, my goal and whatever I'm pursuing in life, it's synonymous. And what happened is my business and my goals got to a 6. And so I spent more time on myself than I did on my business, because working, your personal development is directly correlated and synonymous with your life success, the goals that you're setting, the person that you want to be, your physical reality. But I realized I wasn't working on the personal development in the right way. I was working on personal development, like leadership skills and things like that, but that wasn't deep enough. It wasn't getting to the core of the cause. Like that last quote said, our thoughts are the cause. Well, I started learning about that, and not just learning about it in an abstract way, but how to develop around that and how to institute that into my daily practice and the things that I'm doing on a daily basis. And again, I've been doing this for nearly a decade now, and I have so gone past what my goals and my dreams were for my life back 10 years ago. And it's amazing. And as I share this information and teach it and mentor people along, their lives start moving forward. It's a very exciting thing to be a part of. But I realized that before I got the information was that I was working on my business all the time. I wasn't working on the right aspects about myself. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? What comes first? You have to personally achieve personal development success before you can achieve your business goals, or is it the other way around? And what I want to suggest to you is that there's no way you could move your business forward without changing the way you understand and the way that you perceive things and how to address them on a personal level. So to me, it's the personal development that comes first, and then the business follows behind that, or whatever the pursuit may be. I like this quote from Napoleon Hill: "An educated man is not necessarily one who has an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated man is one who has so developed the faculties of his mind that he may acquire anything he wants, or its equivalent, without violating the rights of others. So what I was introduced to was these mental faculties and giving them specific words like reason, intuition, memory, will, perception, imagination, and then how to build those mental faculties and what you're going to do with them and how you're going to, again, see things and develop and practice on the control and developing yourself to where you have greater control mentally. And there's a specific end goal in mind, and you see that clearly. And what also is coupled with that and what goes along with those mental faculties is the universal laws of success. They're controlled by your mental faculties for you personally. So the things that you attract into your life, and learning about the laws of vibration and frequency and abundance and focus, and the law of non-resistance is a really big one. And everybody is breaking the law of non-resistance. It's like breaking the law of gravity. The law of gravity doesn't care if you know about it or not. If you're ignorant to the results you're going to get from breaking the law of gravity, it produces the results every time by law. Well, the law of non-resistance, everybody's breaking it until they know about it and they understand what it is and the definition behind that law, and then how you can build your mental faculties so that you don't break it anymore. If people could just obey the law of non-resistance in the right way, they would have immediate change in results in their lives, because there's a direct correlation to obeying laws and disobeying laws. They produce results, and by law. That's why they're called laws. The law of gestation, gratitude, compensation, action, and there's so many others. And I go over these laws and I describe what they are and how we utilize them, how we can implement them. But that's all done through a string and a series of shows. Does your life need a tune-up or a complete overhaul? You know, I needed a major overhaul in my life, and because I was at such a place of frustration and despair. And so I know exactly what I did. I know the information that I got, and I like to impart that in a way that people really understand it. It's a down-to-earth, basic way for implementing these laws and understanding what they are. But it still takes time. It takes commitment. And so I recommend starting at show number 1. You can go to mechanictomillionaire.com. And the cool thing about this, look, I don't have any agenda with this other than making an impact in the world and in people's lives. That's really where I get my passion. And so this is free. You just go to the website, start listening to the shows. Start at show number 1. They go anywhere from a half hour to 40 minutes, and treat it like online school or something like that, like you're going back to school. That's how I really want you to listen to the shows. Take notes and then see how you can implement the things that you're learning into your life, into your thinking. And I highly recommend start at show number 1, because we start at the basic, not really the basic, but the fundamental foundation of, of moving forward and understanding things from this new perspective. So start at show number 1. If you use iTunes, the show is on there, Mechanic to Millionaire on iTunes. There's a podcast app. If you're familiar with podcast, it will download the shows every time they're uploaded onto iTunes, and it'll be right there on your phone and you can listen to it. And then we have a Facebook group that I created. It's called Mechanic to Millionaire. And there's like 1,200 people there now or something like that. And it's just like a mastermind where I'll post some things, other people are posting things, and it's a real positive community, and people are asking questions, people are making comments, and it's just a great community on being able to communicate with each other and support each other. And my thing is, look, I don't believe that the world's going to hell in a handbasket. There's a lot of people who do subscribe to that, but that's because they watch the news over and over all day long, each day. And they're listening to talk radio and things like that really, cause a lot of contention and don't always look at things in a positive light. And so what else could you think but that everything's falling apart if you just keep hearing the bad news all day long? But in the world that I'm involved in, I choose not to watch the news. CNN may stand for constantly negative news. Why would I want to participate in that when I want to be a forward, positive, productive being? So what I see, though, is the human spirit has never been more alive. It's never been more thriving. And there have never been more people who want to make an impact, an unselfish, selfless impact in the world, and want to help people to move forward. They want to move their own lives forward, and they want to help other people to move forward. And they're looking for vehicles and for things that can materialize that and make that happen. And so that's what I see. And so how does the world become a better place? Well, I believe that God puts a desire and a passion into us, and then we take that and we run with it. And that's how we institute change. That's how we institute this positive effect that we'll have in our lives, in our homes, and in our communities. And I see it, and we're moving forward that way. It's a beautiful thing. And I invite you to be a part of that. Join the group and see what's going on. And I just invite you to lock arms with us. Let's make a difference in the world. Let's make a difference in our lives. And your own personal success would be more compelling than all of the books that could ever be written on it. And so we as individuals really have a responsibility to take this initiative to proactively strive to improve ourselves. I think it was Gandhi who said, be the change that you want to see in the world. If we all committed on this level and understood the things that need to be understood to move our lives forward and go from a 6 to a 7 to an 8 to a 9 to a 10 in our lives, imagine that example and what it would represent to other people and how it would just attract them and it would bring them in and they would want to be a part of that. That's what's happening, and it's happening all over the world. So thank you again for joining me on this presentation, and we'll see you on the Mechanic to Millionaire.